Hello friends, welcome back to Mindset HubTube. In the last video, we explored the first 6 lessons from The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, where we learned how experiences, luck, risk, wealth preservation, and rare events shape our financial decisions. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, I recommend checking it out so you can follow the complete journey from the beginning. In today's video, we continue with Lesson 7 and dive deeper into more powerful insights that can change the way you think about money.
One of the most eye-opening lessons in the psychology of money is the idea that freedom and control over your own time is the highest form of wealth. People often assume that wealth is only about material possessions, big houses, luxury cars, or fancy vacations. But Morgan Housel argues that true financial success isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by the ability to wake up every day and decide how you want to spend your time without being controlled by external pressures. Time is the ultimate currency, and money is valuable only to the extent that it buys you freedom over how to use that time. Many people earn significant salaries but remain trapped in jobs they dislike, forced to trade their hours for income. Others may live modestly but design their lives in a way that allows them flexibility, freedom, and control. Who is richer in this case? The one with a bigger paycheck or the one who owns their time? According to this lesson, it's the latter. Think of it this way. If you wake up in the morning and most of the day ahead is dictated by someone else's schedule, then regardless of how much money you make, your freedom is limited. On the other hand, if you can decide to spend your morning with family, pursue a hobby, or work on a project you love without financial stress dictating your choices, then you have achieved a level of wealth that far exceeds material displays. A striking example can be seen in many professionals who achieve financial success only to realize they're prisoners of their own schedules. Executives earning millions often report higher stress levels and less freedom than individuals with moderate income but greater control. Freedom provides not just happiness, but peace of mind, and it is something money can and should be used to buy. This lesson also highlights why saving money is so powerful. Saving doesn't just create a financial buffer, it creates flexibility. Every dollar saved gives you more options and reduces the control others have over your life. It acts as a tool for independence. People often view saving as simply deferred consumption, but in truth, saving is about buying freedom. The freedom to say no, to take risks, to step back when needed, or to pursue passions without fear of financial collapse. In addition, the pursuit of freedom changes how we think about success. Instead of comparing ourselves to others in terms of income or possessions, the real measure becomes, how much control do I have over my time? This is a more sustainable and fulfilling way to measure wealth. Material comparisons often lead to endless competition, dissatisfaction, and stress. But focusing on freedom creates a sense of fulfillment because it ties wealth to personal happiness and purpose, not just external validation. This concept also reminds us of the danger of lifestyle inflation. As income grows, many people increase their spending on luxuries, which ironically reduces their freedom by creating new financial obligations. A bigger house comes with higher bills, luxury cars require maintenance, and expensive lifestyles demand constant high income. True freedom is found not in constant upgrading, but in balancing income, savings, and lifestyle choices in a way that maximizes control over your own time. In essence, this lesson reframes the way we view money. It's not just about accumulation or consumption, it's about how effectively money allows us to live life on our own terms. Wealth should be measured by the gap between what you have to do and what you choose to do. And the wider that gap becomes, the richer you truly are.
Another profound lesson from The Psychology of Money is the idea of man-in-the-car paradox. This concept teaches us that when people see someone driving an expensive car, they don't usually admire the driver, they imagine themselves in the car. In other words, we mistakenly believe wealth and luxury will make others respect or admire us, but in reality, people project themselves into the possessions rather than thinking highly of the owner. Morgan Housel uses this paradox to explain how easily we confuse the perception of wealth with the reality of it. Many people spend excessively on luxury items because they want to be admired or validated by others. They assume that showing off material wealth will increase their social status. But the truth is, people are rarely impressed with the person, they're impressed with the item itself. The admiration doesn't transfer to the owner. Instead, it makes others think, wow, I'd love to have that car. Not, wow, that person must be so impressive. This realization shifts how we think about status and wealth. Chasing material validation is often a losing game because external admiration is far less than we imagine. People are far more concerned with their own lives than with respecting yours. That means spending money to look rich often undermines your real ability to become rich. For example, many individuals buy luxury cars, branded clothes, or high-end gadgets to signal success. They hope these items will change the way others perceive them. But in reality, people quickly look past the owner and focus on the item itself, often wishing it was theirs. This creates a cycle of dissatisfaction. The owner doesn't get the admiration they craved, so they keep spending more to chase it. Meanwhile, their financial stability suffers. The paradox teaches us a better approach. Instead of chasing the image of wealth, focus on building actual wealth. True wealth is invisible. It's the money you save, the investments you hold, the financial freedom you create. Flashy items are often signs of spending, not saving. Real wealth is the ability to choose how you live, not the ability to impress others with possessions. This lesson also encourages humility. Many people we consider ordinary may actually be wealthy because they quietly save and invest, while those who flaunt luxury may be drowning in debt. Status symbols can be misleading. By understanding the man in the car paradox, we avoid falling into the trap of spending for show and instead focus on meaningful financial security. On a deeper psychological level, this paradox exposes how much of our financial behavior is tied to ego. We often think money will buy respect or admiration. But what it really buys, if used wisely, is freedom and peace of mind. When we stop chasing external validation, we can redirect our money toward things that truly matter: stability, growth, experiences, and opportunities. The key takeaway here is simple but powerful. Don't waste resources trying to buy respect. People don't admire you because of what you own. They admire how you live, how you treat others, and the independence you create for yourself. Luxury items may bring momentary attention, but they rarely deliver lasting admiration. Instead, focus on building unseen wealth, which gives you long-term confidence and freedom. When you shift your mindset this way, you begin to recognize the difference between being rich and looking rich. Looking rich often drains resources. Being rich quietly builds them. The paradox teaches us to prioritize substance over appearance, financial independence over social signaling, and humility over ego. In the end, true success comes not from how others see you, but from how much control you have over your own life.
Moving on to the 9th lesson, we learn about the powerful role of saving and why it is more important than how much you earn or even how well you invest. Many people think that building wealth is only about having a high income or making extraordinary investment choices. But Morgan Housel reminds us that wealth is created and preserved largely through consistent saving. Saving is the foundation that allows every other financial strategy to work. The truth is, no matter how much money you earn, if you spend it all, you will never build wealth. On the other hand, even a modest income, when paired with disciplined saving, can create significant financial security and long-term growth. Saving doesn't require genius, market timing, or special insight. It requires a mindset of restraint, patience, and a commitment to the long-term benefits of having money set aside. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about saving is that it's only about deprivation or denying yourself pleasures. But in reality, saving is about opportunity. Every dollar saved is a dollar that gives you flexibility in the future. It buys you freedom, options, and the ability to make choices without being trapped by financial pressure. This connects directly with the earlier lesson about freedom being the highest form of wealth. Saving is the practical path to achieve that freedom. Housel points out that saving has far more impact on financial success than investment returns in many cases. For example, if you save consistently for years, even average investment returns will eventually compound into large sums. But if you save little or nothing, even the best returns won't make a significant difference. This is why ordinary people who live below their means often become wealthy over time, while high earners who spend excessively can end up struggling. An important element of saving is that it doesn't require outside permission. You don't need a booming stock market, an employer's approval, or even luck to start saving. It is entirely within your control. This makes it one of the most reliable tools in personal finance because unlike income or investment performance, saving depends on your choices and discipline. Another key insight is that saving gives you psychological comfort. When unexpected expenses or emergencies arise, people who have savings experience far less stress than those living paycheck to paycheck. This emotional stability is just as valuable as the financial security itself because it allows you to make calmer, wiser decisions without panic. A common obstacle to saving is lifestyle inflation, the tendency to increase spending as income rises. Many people sabotage their financial progress by continuously upgrading their lifestyles instead of increasing their savings. The ninth lesson reminds us that true wealth is not measured by how much you spend, but by how much you keep. Resisting the pressure to constantly display success is the key to building real financial independence. The big takeaway here is that saving is not just about money. It is about building a foundation for independence, peace of mind, and flexibility. It is less about how much you earn and more about how much you choose not to spend. Saving gives you control over your future, positions you to take advantage of opportunities, and protects you from life's inevitable setbacks. In the journey of wealth building, saving is the engine that makes everything else possible.
Moving on to the 10th lesson, we discover that wealth is not about flashy displays or visible consumption, it's about what you don't see. Morgan Housel explains that when most people think of wealth, they picture big houses, luxury cars, expensive vacations, or designer clothes. But those things are not wealth. They are a display of spending. True wealth is invisible because it represents the money you have chosen not to spend. This is one of the most eye-opening lessons in the book. When you see someone driving a brand new car, you might think they're wealthy, but the only thing you actually know for sure is that they have less money now than before they bought it. The real sign of wealth is the money quietly sitting in savings accounts, investments, or other assets that are not on display. That is what provides security and future opportunities, even if no one else can see it. The problem is that society often confuses the appearance of wealth with actual wealth. Many people spend money on visible luxuries to signal success to others. They want to be admired, respected, or even envied. But as Housel points out, the people watching often don't admire the spender, they imagine themselves having the car, the house, or the lifestyle instead. So the admiration you seek by spending is rarely directed toward you, it's directed toward the possessions themselves. Wealth, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't seek attention. It's the freedom to live life on your own terms, without financial stress. It's the security of knowing you can handle an emergency. It's the ability to retire comfortably, help your family, or take risks without fear. None of that requires outward displays. It requires restraint and the ability to delay gratification. This lesson teaches us that the key to building wealth is avoiding the trap of trying to prove it. Many people undermine their financial future by constantly trying to show others how successful they are. They drain their resources on short-term displays rather than building long-term independence. The irony is that the more you feel the need to prove wealth, the less you will actually have. Another important point here is the psychological shift needed to redefine success. Instead of measuring financial achievement by visible spending, we should measure it by how much freedom and security we've created. The size of your bank account, the growth of your investments, or the consistency of your savings matter far more than how impressive your lifestyle looks to strangers. This lesson is liberating because it removes the pressure of keeping up with others. When you realize that true wealth is invisible, you can stop comparing yourself to people who seem rich and focus on quietly building your own foundation. You don't need to win a popularity contest or prove anything to anyone. You only need to stay disciplined, consistent, and focused on your long-term goals. Ultimately, this lesson reminds us that wealth is measured not by what we spend, but what we keep. The money sitting quietly in your savings and investments, compounding and growing over time, is the real marker of success. It doesn't need to be shown off because its value lies in the freedom, flexibility, and peace of mind it provides. The takeaway is simple but profound. Don't confuse wealth with spending. Don't feel pressured to display your success to others. Focus on invisible wealth, the money you keep, save, and invest, because that's what will give you true independence and lasting financial strength.
Moving on to the 11th lesson, we explore the idea that long-term investing is not primarily about intelligence, it's about endurance. Morgan Housel emphasizes that the ability to stick with your investments through ups and downs is far more important than trying to outsmart the market. Many people believe that successful investing requires secret knowledge, expert predictions, or the ability to time the market perfectly. But history shows us that almost nobody can consistently predict short-term market movements. Even professional investors with advanced tools and research often fail to outperform the market. What really separates those who build wealth from those who lose it is the discipline to stay invested for years, even decades, despite volatility and uncertainty. The stock market, for example, has a long history of growth, but that growth has never been a straight line. There are crashes, corrections, recessions, and periods of stagnation. In the short term, it can look chaotic and frightening, but over the long term, patience and endurance almost always pay off. This is why Housel argues that time in the market matters far more than timing the market. Think about it. Anyone can invest during good times when the market is rising and optimism is everywhere. The real challenge comes during downturns, when fear spreads and headlines scream about disaster. Most people panic and sell, locking in losses. But those who endure, who stay invested and ride out the storm, are often rewarded when the market recovers, as it almost always does. This lesson also reminds us that compounding requires time. Even small, consistent returns can grow into enormous wealth if given decades to work. But the magic of compounding only works if you endure the entire journey without interrupting it by constantly pulling your money out. Endurance protects your compounding process from being broken. Housel gives the example that Warren Buffett's wealth is largely the result of starting young and staying invested for over 75 years. While Buffett is undoubtedly skilled, the biggest reason for his extraordinary fortune is simply endurance, allowing compounding to work over an unusually long period. Most investors underestimate just how powerful patience can be. Endurance in investing is also a mindset. It requires you to accept that volatility is not a bug of the system, it's a feature. Market downturns are normal, and enduring them is the price you pay for long-term growth. If you can mentally prepare for uncertainty and avoid reacting emotionally, you are already ahead of the majority of investors. This lesson also applies beyond the stock market. Whether it's building a business, growing savings, or paying down debt, success rarely comes quickly. It comes from sticking to a plan, resisting distractions, and enduring the slow, sometimes boring process of progress. Many people quit just before the results start compounding. Endurance ensures you stay on the path long enough to experience the rewards. The takeaway here is clear. Wealth isn't about brilliance. It's about survival. Endurance matters more than quick wins or flashy strategies. If you can stay calm, consistent, and committed through the ups and downs, your wealth will grow steadily over time. The best investors are not those who know the most, but those who last the longest.
Moving on to the 12th lesson, we learn that surprises are the rule, not the exception, when it comes to money and investing. Morgan Housel reminds us that the financial world is shaped less by predictable patterns and more by events nobody could have seen coming. Crises, booms, recessions, pandemics, technological breakthroughs, all of these shape markets and economies in ways that textbooks and forecasts rarely predict. This lesson is powerful because it shifts how we think about risk and planning. Most financial strategies are built around assumptions about what the future will look like, but the reality is that the future almost always surprises us. History is full of events that experts failed to foresee: the Great Depression, World War II, the 2008 financial crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic all blindsided the world. Yet they became defining moments that changed how money moved, how governments acted, and how individuals behaved. If surprises are inevitable, then the most important skill is not predicting them, but preparing for them. Housel suggests that instead of trying to forecast every possibility, we should build resilience into our financial lives. That means having savings, avoiding excessive debt, and maintaining flexibility so that when the unexpected happens, we can adapt without being ruined. This idea also challenges the common belief that financial success comes from precise planning. While planning is useful, overconfidence in a specific plan can be dangerous. If you assume the future will unfold exactly as you expect, you leave yourself vulnerable when it doesn't. A better approach is to accept uncertainty as natural and prepare to be surprised. For example, instead of assuming your investments will always grow at a fixed rate, you can prepare for periods of decline by keeping a safety net of cash or low-risk assets. Another key insight here is that surprises are not always negative. Just as crises can bring losses, unexpected innovations can bring enormous gains. Nobody could have perfectly predicted the rise of the internet, smartphones, or electric cars decades ago. Yet those surprises created fortunes for people who stayed adaptable and open to change. The lesson is not to fear surprises, but to respect them and position yourself to survive the bad ones while benefiting from the good ones. This lesson also teaches humility. If the smartest experts in the world can't consistently predict the future, then we shouldn't expect ourselves to. The goal is not to be perfectly right, but to be resilient enough to handle being wrong. Humility keeps us from making reckless bets based on overconfidence. For individuals, this means keeping a margin of safety in your finances, extra savings, conservative estimates, and backup plans. For investors, it means diversifying your portfolio and avoiding putting all of your money into a single bet. For businesses, it means preparing for downturns even in times of growth. The 12th lesson ultimately reminds us that uncertainty is a permanent part of life. Instead of fearing it, we should embrace it as natural. The question is not, will surprises happen, but how prepared am I when they do? The ability to adapt, endure, and stay calm in the face of the unexpected is what separates those who survive financially from those who collapse. The takeaway is simple yet profound. Don't try to eliminate uncertainty. Accept it. Build resilience into your financial life. Stay humble about your ability to predict the future, and remember that surprises are not setbacks. They are the reality of money and investing.
That concludes this part of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. In this video, we covered lessons 7 to 12, exploring the power of freedom, saving, invisible wealth, endurance, and preparing for life's inevitable surprises. These lessons show that financial success is driven by mindset, behavior, and long-term thinking rather than flashy displays or short-term gains. The remaining lessons will continue in the next part, so stay tuned to uncover even more powerful insights from the psychology of money. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on money, wealth, and personal growth. Remember, true wealth is not what you show,
but the freedom and control you build for your life.